I chased my goddess for 7 years, yet I couldn't stop thinking about my housemaid's son. To win her favor, I even arranged for her first love to join my father's company. Instead, I brought a wolf into my home. The company was driven to bankruptcy, and my parents accidentally died. I caught them in an affair, and they pushed me down the stairs, leaving me a high paraplegic. The goddess pulled out my oxygen tube, and just before I died, told me, "My son is the other's seed." I died of fury. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I first confessed to the goddess Sophia. Together, the noisy jeers echoed in my ears. I opened my eyes. The scene in front of me swayed several times and finally froze into an image I'll never forget. A young, beautiful girl, coldly elegant and seductively charming, stood above me. She looked down at me, her contemptuous gaze fixed on the huge diamond-studded ring in my hand. A crowd of classmates gathered around jeered nonstop. The memory replayed, and I felt my heart gripped by a giant hand, aching so badly I could barely breathe. Isn't this the moment in college when I confessed to the goddess Sophia? I was reborn. In my last life, I was a sycophant for 4 years chasing Sophia. My love in that relationship was pathetic and laughable. But in Sophia's eyes, I didn't exist at all. She only liked Lucas. Lucas, the son of our housemaid Margaret. Raised in my house since childhood, handsome and debonair. If you ignored his background, anyone standing next to us would always assume he was the carefree rich heir. Even knowing I was the real second-generation rich, Sophia would only call me the landlord family's dumb son. That was the difference between Lucas and me in her eyes. Ridiculously, I couldn't see the truth last time. Stubbornly, I believed that with enough patience I could win her. To please my goddess, I not only worshipped Sophia, but also gave Lucas every possible convenience. When Lucas got into trouble, Sophia made me take the fall. I was punished by the school and didn't even receive my diploma. I brought shame to my family and made my parents hang their heads among relatives and friends. But finally, Sophia was moved by me. She graduated and married me. And under my arrangement, Lucas joined our family company, Johnson Group, becoming an executive. But he was a wolf at heart. Over a few years, he not only stripped my father Richard Johnson of power, but secretly transferred company assets, leaving the firm buried in debts. After my parents' accidental deaths, I inherited the company, left with tens of billions of dollars in debt. I confronted Lucas about the company's situation and unexpectedly caught him and Sophia in an affair. In a rage, I grabbed a fruit knife and lunged at them, but the two of them pushed me down the stairs. I became a high paraplegic. I lingered in the ICU. Sophia, posing as a family member, pulled out my oxygen tube. Before I died, she whispered in my ear that for all these years she and Lucas had been secretly married, and the child she bore me was actually Lucas's. Finally, to rub it in, she and Lucas raved on the hospital bed next to mine. I died of anger. I never expected that when I opened my eyes again, I'd be back on the day I confessed to Sophia. This time, I won't let the tragedy repeat. Ethan, you don't really think that if you confess to me with a diamond ring, I'll say yes, do you? I'm not that shallow. The kind of guy I like is driven, ambitious, and hardworking, a striving young man. I would never like a complacent trust fund kid like you. Sophia's tone carried a hint of disdain, and she also showed off her standards and pride to the classmates around her. But why were you staring so fixedly at the ring, unwilling to look away? In my last life, we were married for a few years. I knew Sophia's character better than anyone. Take off the filter and look at this woman. She's a hypocritical bitch. I laughed. Then with a flick of my hand, I pocketed the ring. And that bouquet she was holding, made of $10,000 bills folded into flowers. Sophia, you're right. I really am shallow and not worthy of you. I hope you find that driven, ambitious, hard-working soulmate of yours. Sophia froze. She stared blankly as I pulled apart the cash flowers one bill at a time, flattened each out, and tucked them into my chest. "What are you doing?" I smiled and said, "I'm reflecting. You said you don't like me, right? I think giving you that kind of shallow thing was an insult. Don't worry, I won't do it again." There was still a pile of heart-shaped candles on the ground. A security guard nearby was holding a fire extinguisher, watching the scene. I waved at him, took the extinguisher from his hand, and sprayed the pile of candles. Cough, cough, cough. Sophia, standing in the middle of the candles, started coughing from the dry powder. When the candles were out, half of Sophia's body was covered in white powder. Enraged and humiliated, she stamped her foot. "Ethan, are you crazy?" I laughed too. Yes, I was crazy. In my last life, I wasn't just blind in my eyes, I was blind in my heart. So I let that pair of scheming bitches hide by my side, and they didn't just kill me, they killed my parents too. This life, I'll reclaim every debt you owe me, item by item. I had withdrawn a confession, but by morning the whole academy knew. The whole episode spun into several versions. That I had spent heavily to set up a romantic scene to confess to the goddess, only to be cruelly rejected. That I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on gifts to win her favor, and she didn't even look at me. No matter the rumors, the academy thought I hadn't changed my bootlicking ways. It wouldn't be long before I'd try some new stunt to coax Sophia's favor. I couldn't be bothered to explain. Time would prove everything. As long as I ignored Sophia, all the rumors would collapse by themselves. What I didn't expect was, I ignored Sophia, but she came to me first. That afternoon after class, Sophia blocked me at the cafeteria entrance. "Give it here." Sophia held out her hand to me, impatience plain on her face. "Give what?" I didn't understand what she meant. "The ring you took that night." I raised an eyebrow. "What, regretting it? Want to be my girlfriend? If you want that, I don't want it." "Keep dreaming," Sophia said disdainfully. "I'm only returning something to the person it belongs to." "Something that belongs to someone else?" I frowned. "That pigeon egg diamond ring cost me $1.2 million. When did it become someone else's? Make yourself clear. Who are you taking that ring back for?" "Oomph. Still pretending. That ring is a Lucas family heirloom." Hearing Sophia, I was speechless. According to her, the diamond ring I paid a fortune for was actually something I borrowed from Lucas. "Where did you hear that? Did Lucas tell you?" "Mind your own business. Anyway, if you have any shame, hurry up and return the ring to Lucas." I burst out laughing. Just then Lucas walked by, and I hailed him. "Did you tell Sophia that my huge diamond is a family heirloom of yours?" Lucas frowned and looked at Sophia. Sophia quickly chimed in. "Lucas, say it's true. Don't always worry about saving other people's face. Some people don't know gratitude. You spare his face, and he'll just screw you over." This Lucas really was something else. Privately, he was quite good at crafting his image. And the idiot Sophia was willing to believe it. The son of a housekeeper. Does he have the means to buy such a huge diamond? I'd already decided, if Lucas dared to say it was his in front of me, I'd beat him so badly his mother wouldn't recognize him. Boring. Lucas neither confirmed nor denied. After giving an ambiguous answer, he stuck his hands in his pockets and prepared to leave. "Lucas, Lucas." Sophia called a few times, then shouted at me. "Ethan, it's just that Lucas is giving you face." I pulled the diamond ring from my pocket. Sophia's sentence died on her lips. Her attention was captured once again by the ring in my hand. A 5-carat rock. This jewel's temptation isn't something ordinary women can resist. One I reflexively pulled her over to use her as a shield. But now, seeing the slight displeasure in her eyes, I certainly wouldn't be stupid enough to offend this future big shot. "It's really a gift for you." "Oh." Olivia blinked, then asked with a half smile. "For what reason?" "Using me as a shield." "No. I wanted to thank you. Thank you for the lucky charm you gave me during freshman training camp." Olivia's eyes, hidden behind her lenses, clearly brightened. You remember that?" "To be honest, I had forgotten." But in the previous life, when I tried to find a way to get close to Olivia, she mentioned this in a casual chat. During freshman training camp, Olivia got heat stroke and asked the instructor for leave. The instructor thought she was faking and refused. As a result, she fainted during formation. No one else dared to step in and plead. Only my spoiled temper flared up, and I ignored everything, carrying Olivia to the infirmary. Afterwards, to thank me, Olivia gave me a lucky charm. But I tossed that charm away somewhere and lost it. Now that I brought it up again, Olivia's attitude toward me was noticeably different from before. Still, that ring was too valuable. Even though I kept insisting that the money meant nothing to me, the next day, Olivia returned the ring to me. If you don't want it, I won't force you. Then at least let me take you to dinner, all right? Although my time interacting with Olivia was short, it felt strangely special. I genuinely wanted to know more about her. So for a while afterward, I often asked her out to eat off campus. Gradually, when we ate together, I also started bringing her a few roses. My relationship with Olivia grew closer, and it seemed there was only a thin piece of window paper left to tear through. The group at school who had been waiting to see me go back to being Sophia's toady were dumbfounded. Ethan really stopped being a simp? How is that possible? The way he worshipped Sophia before was beyond belief. I don't think he could give her up. But the fact was there. I really had ignored Sophia for a long time. And Sophia seemed a bit out of sorts without my daily fawning. So one day when I was about to go out to eat with Olivia, Sophia stopped me. Ethan, did you deliberately find some fat, ugly woman to piss me off? Playing hard to get with me? Do you think I'll fall for that? Looking at the idiot in front of me, so full of self-satisfaction, I was speechless. I simply ignored Sophia and took Olivia's hand, walking past her. Ethan, if you go out to eat with her today, don't ever expect me to say another word to you. Sophia cried behind me, embarrassed and furious. But when she saw Olivia and me leave through the school gate, all Sophia could do was stamp her feet in place. I thought after 2 consecutive setbacks with me, Sophia would understand I'm not the same simp as before. Yet within a few days, she came back to me. The day after tomorrow is my birthday. I'm planning to invite classmates over. Which hotel do you think is suitable? She seemed to have forgotten her earlier threats about never speaking to me again. From the look on her face, I knew her purpose. She wanted me to be the big spender again and pay for the party. In the past, when it was her birthday, I would book the best hotel in advance and prepare the most expensive gifts for her. Now, with her birthday approaching again and me having done nothing, she was clearly anxious. I originally didn't want to pay her any mind. But just as I was about to refuse, the words changed. The Emperor Hotel is nice. Their Sky Garden restaurant not only has a great atmosphere, the food isn't bad either. Then book that one. Sophia nodded, then, with a proud look, added to me, you should come a day after tomorrow too. I smiled and said, okay. At Sophia's request, I booked the most luxurious banquet hall at the Emperor Hotel for her. 2 days later, I showed up at the hall. The banquet was already underway. You could see that many of the invited classmates were very excited. After all, they rarely had chances to attend such events. And Sophia, as the center of attention, accepted everyone's flattery like a star among fans. When she saw me, Sophia proudly came over and reached out her hand. Where's my gift? What gift? Sophia's expression changed. You came to my birthday party and didn't bring a present? I laughed. You must be mistaken. Who said I came to your birthday party? I just came to eat. I heard some classmates were holding a banquet here, so I came to see the spectacle. All right, enjoy your food and drinks. I won't bother you. My friend is waiting next door. With that, I turned to leave. Ethan, stop right there. Ethan. Sophia's frantic voice came from behind, but I ignored it. Olivia and I were enjoying a candlelit dinner next door. Today, Olivia had dressed up deliberately. Under the candlelight, she was stunningly beautiful. I was thinking whether to take advantage of such a lovely atmosphere to confess. Halfway through the meal, the mood was ruined by Sophia barging in. At this point, the proud look had completely vanished from her face. Seeing Olivia and me dining together, Sophia no longer had that sarcastic tone. She awkwardly said to me, "Can you pay the bill for me?" I put down my cutlery and looked at Sophia with a half smile. "Why should I pay for your meal?" "But you always used to pay before," Sophia said as if it were only natural. Since you brought it up, then fine. Please also repay the money you owe me from before. I replied. Sophia opened her mouth. She clearly hadn't expected that not only would I refuse to pay for her, I would demand she pay me back. Consider it as me lending you the money. You pay today's bill for me now, and I'll return it to you later, she stammered. As long as you pay for me now, I won't hold that you didn't prepare a birthday gift for me. I laughed immediately. How had I never noticed how strange this woman's thinking was? In the end, it was because I used to fawn over her so much that I spoiled her. Seeing Olivia opposite me looking impatient, I said at once, "No loan. Waiter, didn't I say I don't like being disturbed while eating?" The waiter hurried forward to drive Sophia away. "Ethan, do you have to be so ruthless?" After shouting at me, Sophia began yelling at the waiter. "Don't touch me. I can walk out by myself." "Fine. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. I gave you a chance, and you didn't seize it. There are plenty of men willing to spend on me. I don't need you. Ethan, remember this. If I ever speak another half sentence to you again, I'm a dog." Sophia stormed off in a huff. Even after Olivia and I finished our meal and went out to pay, we still didn't run into the man Sophia had claimed would pay for her. Watching her standing at the cashier, calling this brother and that senior to beg for money was so humiliating that I was in a great mood all the way home. "What's the deal between you and Sophia?" Olivia's expression hadn't been normal since she saw Sophia. Halfway there, she couldn't hold back and asked, "You wouldn't be treating me as her replacement, would you?" "Of course not." I quickly took Olivia's hand and said earnestly, "Haven't you felt how I've treated you lately? I really like you." The opportunity for the confession I missed at the candlelit dinner was finally seized again. Olivia blushed. That thin barrier between us was finally broken. Olivia and I officially became boyfriend and girlfriend. They say men are creatures who crave the new and tire of the old. After getting Olivia, I completely lost interest in Sophia. I didn't care how she managed to get out of it in the end. But the question was answered quickly. The next day after class, when I accompanied Olivia to the cafeteria, Lucas and Sophia blocked our way. "Pay back the money," Lucas said with righteous severity. "Pay back what money?" Seeing Sophia linking arms with Lucas, I burst out laughing. "What's this, Sophia? Have you finally come to your senses? Ready to pay back the money you owed me?" Sophia immediately looked furious. "Ethan, have you no shame? You deliberately tricked me out of hundreds of thousands of dollars yesterday. If it weren't for Lucas, I'd still be washing dishes at the hotel." So Lucas had paid her bill. That explained why he came to me for the money. Lucas said, "Ethan, even if Sophia rejected your pursuit, you didn't have to be so petty and spiteful, did you? Deliberately setting a trap for her, making her lose face over a bill of hundreds of thousands of dollars. You really are petty. Anyway, this is your responsibility. If you're a man, then pay her back." "That's right," Sophia eagerly agreed. "Don't tell me you can't afford it." "Huh, I can't afford it?" Looking at the two of them ganging up, I couldn't help but laugh. This whole payback charade was really Lucas being stingy about those hundreds of thousands, using the pretense of collecting from Sophia to try to recoup it from me. After all, that money, the hundreds of thousands, was what his mom had stolen little by little from my family. I shook my head and stared at Lucas. First, I never told her to spend that money. The hotel was her request. I never promised to pick up the tab from start to finish. Second, I didn't attend the birthday banquet. I had no part in any of her expenses. Even if she wanted to split the bill, she couldn't point to me. And since you paid her bill, the debt relationship exists only between you and her. Don't you find it ridiculous to come to me for the money? Who do you think you are? Lucas couldn't retort at being called out. After all, he was only my housekeeper's son. Sophia wanted to say more, but I cut her off. As for your earlier question about whether I can afford it, not to mention hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of dollars, I don't even bat an eye at them. Tomorrow I'll have my father donate $10 million to the school. I'll show you whether I can afford that measly meal. $10 million? Sophia's eyes went wide. She stared at me in utter disbelief. Seeing Sophia so shocked, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Sophia, last life you colluded with your lover to pull out my oxygen tube and let me die in hatred. This life, watch how I destroy you from the inside out. From now on, the counterattack officially begins. I call my father, and the next day, the school received a $10 million donation. When the school announced the news to teachers and students, Sophia's expression toward me had already turned complicated and hard to read. Her eyes held a few traces of hesitation, a hint of awe, some regret, and an inexplicable touch of being moved. I didn't understand where that feeling of being moved came from, but within a few days, rumors began circulating around the school. They said I had my father donate the $10 million solely because of Sophia. I did it to prove my family's strength in front of her. When I heard that, I really wanted to curse. Are you kidding me? Of course, my father's donation wasn't simply to spite those two idiots. I wanted the school's exchange student spots. When Sophia was acting like a bootlicker before, 3 years were wasted. That caused my grades to fail badly. With my current credits, it would be difficult to graduate smoothly. So I targeted the exchange student spots. Going abroad to study for a year, coming back with an overseas return status, and being able to graduate smoothly, killing multiple birds with one stone. The $10 million my dad donated was soon allocated by the school to the scholarship fund account. The school also gave my father's company 4 exchange student spots. Go abroad with me? After obtaining those 4 spots, I invited Olivia. Go abroad. Olivia hesitated. I don't really want to go abroad. I knew she had her own plans. Or rather, her path had already been arranged by her father. Going abroad wasn't the best choice for her. But our relationship had just been confirmed, and I couldn't bear to leave her alone in the country. As I was about to persuade Olivia further, Sophia actually came to find me with Lucas. I heard your dad has 4 exchange spots. Put mine and Lucas's names on the list. Sophia acted as if it was only natural. I raised an eyebrow. On what grounds? Lucas is the top student at our school. Getting the chance to study abroad is even rarer for him. If you don't put his name down, you're ruining his future. You can't sabotage him just because I like Lucas. That's abusing public power for personal gain. You can't be that petty. I burst out laughing. I couldn't care less who you like. And what does his future have to do with me? Do you think I'm his father? Sophia glared at me, but eventually lowered her tone. Anyway, who else are you going to give those spots to? As long as you agree to put mine and Lucas's names on the list, then from now on, if you give me gifts, I promise I won't refuse them anymore. This woman's logic is really something. Clearly she's the one asking me for something. Yet when those words leave her mouth, it sounds like I'm the one making demands. Clever. I said directly, fine, you can go abroad. But only if both of you admit I'm your father, and, from then on, call me Dad whenever you see me. I'll put your names on the list. Sophia flushed red with anger. She was about to say more when Lucas had already grabbed her and was preparing to leave. Enough, Sophia. Don't beg him. I also have a way to get both of us abroad. People like that. Just because they're not good enough themselves, they can't stand to see others do better. They're bitter inside. It doesn't matter how much you say to him. Stop right there. Who are you calling bitter? I sneered at Lucas. Lucas looked at me coldly and said, who I'm talking about is obvious to you. Is it so hard to admit someone else is excellent? Just because you couldn't win Sophia over, you resort to this to get her attention. If you're a real man, then compete with me fairly. Put our names up and see who is better under the same conditions. Preventing me from going abroad and ruining my future. How amusing is that? What? I prevented you from going abroad? I ruined your future? What kind of logic is that? Even the students watching the commotion were shocked. TSK, TSK, TSK. So used to being fawned over that you take other people's efforts for granted. By the way, Ethan really raised 2 living dads for himself. Their brain circuits aren't normal. So the pinnacle of refusing to understand is claiming your future was delayed. I couldn't help but shake my head, speechless. I told them to get lost as far as possible. Lucas pulled Sophia away. As for Lucas saying before he left that he had a way to get the overseas spot, I already knew how he'd try to do it. Isn't it just asking my dad for the spot? After all, he basically grew up in my family. My father actually intended to groom him into company management. But I won't agree. Last life's experience told me that Lucas is an ungrateful ingrate you can never tame. To avoid repeating that tragedy, I decided to go home over the weekend and talk to my father in person about Lucas and his mother. After class on Friday, I walked out of the school alone and got into the Rolls-Royce my family had sent to pick me up. But several minutes after getting in, the driver still hadn't started the car. I couldn't help furrowing my brow. Why haven't we left yet? The driver smiled. Margaret said Lucas is going back this week too. Asked me to pick him up on the way. Margaret, the one the driver mentioned, was Lucas's mother. When I heard that, I immediately called my father. Switch my driver later and fire this one now. The driver panicked. He turned to me, looking completely lost. Mr. Ethan, what did I do wrong? If I messed up, tell me and I'll fix it. As he spoke, someone knocked on the passenger window. Lucas was already standing beside the car. Near the weekend, the school gates were full of students coming and going. Everyone noticed the luxury car parked at the entrance. And looking at Lucas, standing by the car with his hands in his pockets, clearly enjoying being looked at with envy, drew even more attention. The driver was about to open the door for Lucas when I asked coolly, "Are you my driver or Lucas's driver?" As an heir to assets of hundreds of billions of dollars, I'm worth millions in an instant. Make me waste time waiting for a babysitter's son? Does he even deserve it? The driver finally understood why I was angry. He didn't dare delay any longer. He started the engine and floored it, speeding off. Only a stunned Lucas was left, standing bewildered in the wind. When I got home, my mother, Emily Johnson, came out to meet me. "Ethan, you're back? What do you want for dinner? I'll have a chef make it." Seeing my mother's concerned smile, I couldn't help my eyes going red. Last life, when she and father passed away, I was still abroad, out shopping the world over with Sophia. When I got the news that I needed to come back, Sophia accused me of spoiling the mood. She said that even if I rushed back, I still wouldn't see my parents one last time. What difference does a day make? At the time, I actually listened to Sophia's nonsense, and as a result, my parents died with regret. That incident has haunted me with remorse every time I think of it since. Now seeing mother again, you can imagine how excited I was. I hugged her and buried my face in her shoulder. My mother was taken aback by my sudden move. "Ethan, what's wrong?" I wiped my tears on her shoulder and finally smiled. "Nothing, it's just been such a long time since I came home. I missed you." "What long time? It's only been a month." "Oh well, how old are you and still so shameless?" Mother scolded me with her words, but she couldn't hide the smile at the corner of her eyes. "By the way, wasn't Lucas supposed to come back too? Why haven't I seen him?" Mother asked casually. I didn't answer. Instead, I asked, "What about Margaret?" Mother's face instantly clouded when she heard that. Then she pursed her lips at me. "Isn't she here?" Margaret lives in the maid's room on the first floor. Her door was open and the TV sound came from her room. I walked over and found her sitting on the bed, watching TV and cracking sunflower seeds. The shells were scattered all over the floor. Beside her, a younger maid was cleaning up helplessly. Seeing me at the door, Margaret hurriedly stuffed the leftover seeds in her pocket, then waved at me with a grin. "Ethan's back? I heard from Lucas that you confessed to Miss Sophia. How did it go? It must have worked, right?" "Hee hee. I've already told Lucas to help match you with Miss Sophia. Don't worry, with Lucas around, you'll definitely win the beauty in the end." "Win the beauty?" "Hee hee. Before, I would have been pleased to hear something like that. But now, those words were the cruelest curse to me. I immediately turned cold. "You, pack your things and get out of my house." The moment I spoke, Margaret's face changed. She looked at me in panic, not understanding why I suddenly flew into a rage. "Ethan, what's wrong? Did Lucas upset you at school?" "Don't worry, Lucas called today and said he's coming back. When he's here, I'll give him a good scolding." Even Mother was surprised that I would suddenly lash out at Margaret. She came over and asked, "Ethan, what on earth is wrong?" "What's wrong?" I gave a hollow laugh and said, "Mom, don't you think we have too many maids? Is there really that much housework that it needs so many people? Dad's company is doing competitive hiring and bottom elimination. Why have we suddenly become so lenient with the maids? Do we have money to burn?" Margaret immediately understood what I meant. She hurriedly grabbed the broom from the other maid and swept up the shell she had spit on the floor. While sweeping, she kept a smiling face and said, "I know I was wrong. I won't do it again. Ethan, no. Mr. Ethan, please forgive me this once." Seeing her submit, Mother gestured for her to hurry and tidy up. Then Mother pulled me aside and quietly asked, "Ethan, what's gotten into you today? Have you forgotten the relationship between Margaret and our family?" The relationship between Margaret and her son and our family is complicated. They say that when my parents first came here to start their business, times were hard. At the worst moment, they couldn't even scrape together money for a bowl of noodles. At that time, Margaret's family ran a small restaurant and gave my parents 2 bowls of noodles for free. Later, Margaret's husband died, and she raised Lucas alone in difficult circumstances. Meanwhile, my parents became rich. To repay Margaret for her kindness back then, my parents brought her and her son to live with our family and took care of me, who was still in elementary school at the time. And Margaret often reminded everyone of this, so much so that in our house, she frequently acted like a benefactor. But I never considered her our benefactor. In a last life, during the 2 years when Lucas ruined my father's company, my parents' health suddenly started failing. No matter how many tests they ran, they couldn't find anything wrong. Yet their health had clearly been fine before. Only after my accident, lying in a hospital bed, did I learn the truth from Lucas. My parents were poisoned slowly by Margaret. So this life, I must completely eliminate this hidden danger. Seeing Margaret tidying while straining to eavesdrop on my conversation with my mother, I pretended not to notice. "I haven't forgotten." But after all these years, our family has more than repaid them. The debt of 2 bowls of noodles was paid off a long time ago. But some people don't know their place or respect identities. So because you ate 2 bowls of noodles back then, you become 2 lords now? If that's the case, give them 100,000 bowls of noodles and save us from having 2 shrines at home, making people sick. Margaret's face turned even paler. Her energetic cleaning really made me feel like I hadn't seen her like this in years. My mother, seeing how I had shut Margaret up with a few words, couldn't help but smile. "By the way, Mom, this is for you." I took the pigeon egg out of my pocket. My mother looked at it and couldn't help but smirk. "Did you offer it to someone else and they refused?" She already knew about me and Sophia. I shook my head. "No, I didn't give it to anyone. I just thought that a gift I carefully chose would be too degrading to give to a green tea girl. If you don't want it, I'll throw it away." "Child, throw it away? Didn't we pay for it?" My mother snatched the ring and happily put it on. Then she took a photo and posted it on social media to show off. A gift from my son, not as big as the pigeon egg from my husband, but exquisite. I didn't expect Mom to be so humble bragging, but seeing her so happy made me a little sad. How many gifts did I give Sophia before? And what did I get in return? Cold stares and sarcasm. Yet when I give my mom one thing, she wants everyone to know. What blind eyes did I have before? After finishing the cleaning, Margaret moved closer to my mother. Looking at the ring on my mother's hand, her eyes shifted. Then she smiled. "Ethan's mom truly has the right temperament. Any jewelry looks beautiful on you. Oh my, look at your hand. It's absolutely gorgeous. However, this ring is a bit too big. It seems to overpower your hand shape. If your hand were a bit plumper like mine, it would be perfect. Why don't you let me try it on?" Hearing Margaret, I felt extreme disgust. This woman was starting to PUA my mother again. Usually, whenever my mom bought some new jewelry or a handbag, Margaret would critique it from the side. Then she'd ask to try it on. Generally, once something was in Margaret's hands, she'd claim it suited her better. Since my mom didn't care about those trifles, Margaret used that tactic to swindle quite a few nice things from her. But today, PUAing my mom right in front of me. Doesn't she have no respect for me? Just as I was about to charge at Margaret face first, my mom spoke first. "Miss Margaret, this was a gift from my son. Whether this ring is pretty or not, I won't let anyone else lay a finger on it. If you really want to wear one, have your son buy it for you." Margaret's expression immediately turned awkward. I couldn't help bursting out laughing. Mom said it perfectly. Margaret, put away your little tricks from now on. If I hear you taking advantage of my mom again, I won't let you off." Margaret's old face flushed red as if she'd been sunburned. Lucas took the bus home. For dinner, Chef Thomas Miller prepared a table full of delicious dishes. But I only glanced at it and had everything on the table thrown away. Then I told the chef, "Go settle your wages with the butler George Wilson. You don't need to come tomorrow." The chef panicked. He asked me with a terrified look, "Mr. Ethan, did I do something wrong?" I pointed at the spread and said, "You've worked in my house for so long. Don't you know what I like to eat? How many dishes on this table are things I like?" The chef looked very aggrieved. "But didn't you tell me before to cook according to Lucas's tastes?" All the dishes on the table were Lucas's favorites. That was indeed my instruction before. In the past, to please Sophia, I as a sycophant even kowtowed to everyone around Sophia. That of course included not missing out on Lucas. But that kind of stupid behavior will never happen again. I tapped the table with my finger and said calmly, "Are you teaching me how to run my household?" The chef hurriedly bowed his head and apologized. "No, I'll make a new spread right away. Also, I don't like eating in such a crowded way. From now on, when we eat, there must be no one at this table besides my parents and me." That remark was directed at Lucas. So when the chef remade dinner, my mother and I sat at the dining table and enjoyed the meal. Lucas, meanwhile, took his bowl and sneaked into the kitchen with Margaret. "Ethan, what's wrong with you today? You seem off. Did that girl upset you again?" Seeing my mom so worried, I smiled and said, "No, Mom, I'm fine. I just suddenly realized something. That kind of green tea girl isn't worth me caring so much about. To put it bluntly, our family is so rich, I can have any kind of woman I want. Why give myself trouble? Wouldn't you agree?" My mom immediately laughed. "I'm glad you saw through it. But don't swing from one extreme to another, okay?" I knew she was afraid I'd turn into a playboy. I smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't. I've started seeing a new girlfriend. She has a great personality. When there's a chance, I'll bring her home for you and Dad to meet. I promise you'll be pleased." "Really? That's wonderful." My mother smiled and went off to call my dad to share the good news. Lucas and Margaret happened to have finished their meal and were passing by. I could tell that Margaret had toned down her arrogance a lot. Lucas sneered and curled his lip. As they walked past me, he muttered quietly, "Childish. Stop right there." I wasn't going to let him get away with that. "What did you just say?" "Say it again." Margaret quickly grabbed Lucas and plastered a smile on for me. "Mr. Ethan, you must have misheard." Lucas didn't say anything. "Mom." Lucas pulled his arm out of Margaret's grasp. "What are you afraid of?" I said he's childish. Just because his family has some money, he thinks every woman should like him. Sophia won't indulge him. So when he can't win her, he takes it out on others. If that's not childish, then what is? I sneered immediately. Margaret went pale at Lucas's words. She slapped Lucas across the face. "Shut up." Then she turned to me and apologized. "Mr. Ethan, Lucas is talking nonsense. Don't take him seriously. Apologize to Mr. Ethan right now. I didn't say anything wrong. Why should I apologize?" Lucas said, stiff-necked, "If you've got the guts, be a man and win Sophia with your own ability." "Stop." I cut him off, scornful. "First, understand one thing. I have no feelings for that Sophia anymore. Second, you say with your own ability, haha. Don't you think that's ridiculous? If you had the ability, don't live in my house. Move out right now." Ew. Lucas's face flushed bright red. "Is threatening people with that the only thing you can do? That's all I need. I see reality clearly. My family is rich. That's a fact I want to escape, but can't. If you're so proud, then move out now. Haha. Rent somewhere outside. How hard could that be for you?" Lucas fell silent. He pressed his lips together with a stubborn look. I snorted. "You really think you're so great? Turns out you're just a vain little man. If I made him leave my house, how would he brag later that he lives in a big villa?" Margaret dragged Lucas away. That night before bed, Father finally returned from the office. After he ate a quick meal, I pulled him into the study to talk. Install surveillance? What made you think of that? Father was surprised when I brought it up. I replied casually, "Don't you think things go missing at home a lot?" Mother nodded when she heard it. "Seems like it. Quite a few pieces of jewelry you bought me used to disappear while I was wearing them. Could it be someone in the house stealing?" It seemed Mother had suspected for some time. I said, "Losing things is a small matter. What I worry about is some people having ill intentions, later colluding with outsiders to do desperate things. So we need to prepare in advance." Father was convinced by me. He said he'd contact a security team in the next few days and install hidden cameras in every room of the house. Then, following memories from my previous life, I discussed some current money-making opportunities with Father. He listened in surprise. Where did you hear about these things?" I said I'd been studying hard on my own, just hadn't shown it. My parents truly thought I'd come to my senses. Each of them was excited beyond control. Father also said what I told him sounded very forward-looking. He would bring it to the company and discuss it at a meeting. The next morning, just as I expected, Lucas brought up wanting the exchange student spot in front of my father. But I'd already warned my father about it yesterday, so he refused with some casual excuse. Lucas looked really upset after being turned down, but I couldn't have felt better. Lucas and Sophia going abroad was off the table. Given Sophia's temper, I figured she'd make a scene with me one way or another. Who would have thought? She seemed to have changed. Not only did she not make a fuss, but for a while afterward her attitude toward me was very different. She wasn't so cold as before. When we met, she'd even take the initiative to greet me. What was Sophia up to? Then one day, she suddenly called me, saying she had an urgent matter. Sophia told me that her mom had given her a necklace as a birthday gift, and she lost it at a hotel. And that hotel happens to be one of my family's properties. She wanted me to check the surveillance and the staff dorms to see if there was an inside job. I didn't want to bother at first, but since it concerned my family's hotel's reputation, I went. After looking around, the necklace turned out to have been found by Sophia herself. It was just a mix-up. Be more careful next time, and don't come to me for everything. I'm busy. I scolded her in that tone, and Sophia wasn't angry. She smiled and asked if I was going back to school. When I confirmed, she begged me to give her a ride. I didn't think much and agreed. As we left the hotel, just as we reached the entrance, she suddenly quickened her pace to come beside me and looped her arm through mine. I frowned and was about to ask what she was doing when a familiar voice came from the side. "Ethan, so you really still treat me like a backup?" I froze. I turned and saw Olivia, my girlfriend, standing there. I instinctively tried to pull my arm free from Sophia's hold. But Sophia not only didn't let go, she gripped tighter. I tried to explain, but Olivia didn't give me the chance. She turned and ran away. Looking at Sophia's smug face, I realized she had planned all of this. "You did this on purpose?" I asked in a low voice. Sophia laughed and said, "I just wanted you to see who really matters most to you. How could that woman compare to me? Always wearing those big black glasses, dressing so tacky. If you wanted someone to make you look good, at least pick someone prettier. Picking that ugly thing as my rival, you're basically..." Slap. I slapped Sophia across the face, cutting off her next words. Sophia held her face, staring at me in disbelief. You hit me? You actually hit me for that ugly thing?" "Ethan, didn't you used to say?" Looking at the slightly hysterical Sophia, I said coldly, "That was when I had blinders on. Not anymore. Sophia, I'm warning you, don't try those little tricks in front of me again. Otherwise, I'll make you know what regret means." I thought the matter wouldn't be too serious. I just had to explain things to Olivia. But to my surprise, Olivia wouldn't give me the chance to explain. For a period after that, she avoided me completely. Even when I cornered her in class, she would rather skip school than say a word to me. Meanwhile, rumors about Sophia and me started spreading around the college. The gist was, this simp couldn't get Sophia, so I used some play hard to get trick and shifted my attention to Olivia. And Olivia was nothing but a backup. Once the rumor spread, Olivia was even less willing to hear my explanation. I don't know where the rumor came from, but I knew it had to be connected to Sophia. I didn't have time to hassle Sophia about it, though. To clear things up as soon as possible, that day I blocked Olivia at the cafeteria entrance. Olivia, can you at least give me a chance to speak? Even a death row inmate gets one last full meal, right? I begged, and at that moment my demeanor was pretty much the same as when I was groveling to Sophia before. Unfortunately, Olivia still refused to acknowledge me. She turned and took a detour back to the girls' dorm. With no choice, I followed her all the way. Olivia's detour back to the dorm passed by the school's playground. A group of people were playing on a basketball court. As Olivia arrived, a basketball suddenly flew over and hit her. "Hey, could you help pick up a ball?" A boy from afar waved at Olivia. Olivia frowned, but finally picked up the ball. Just as she was about to toss it back, I suddenly stepped in front of her and caught the ball. Those waiting down the way for Olivia to toss the ball went silent. Then one of them slowly came over. It was Lucas. "Is it that hard to pick up a ball?" Lucas glanced at Olivia, then smiled at me. "You wouldn't be that insecure just because your girlfriend picked up a ball for me. You think there's something going on between us, right?" "Ha ha ha!" The others burst out laughing. I realized Lucas was doing it on purpose. I weighed the basketball in my hands and smiled at Lucas. "Want it?" "Fine catch." As soon as I said it, I slammed the ball hard into Lucas's face. Lucas was sent to the school clinic. Olivia, a few members of the basketball team, and I were called to the academic affairs office. After Dr. Patricia Harris, the academic director, learned what happened, she put on an official tone. No matter how much those basketball players complained, the director stuck to the basic principle of Ethan is right, Ethan is justified, and argued with them. After all, my father had just donated $10 million to the school. Needless to say, the school leadership knew who I was. In the end, those basketball players left the academic office resentful. I wanted to leave too and continue explaining the Sophia situation to Olivia. But the director held my hand and refused to let me go, insisting on a talk about teacher-student relationships. I could only watch Olivia leave helplessly. Enduring half an hour of the director's droning, I finally took my chance when he went to drink water and excuse myself. Leaving the office, I headed straight for the clinic. I wanted to give Lucas another beating to vent. When I reached the door, I ran into Sophia helping Lucas out of the clinic. Watching the two of them cozying up made me suddenly remember what had happened to Sophia at the hotel entrance a few days ago. I hid. "Ouch, that hurts." Lucas's voice was laced with pain. Sophia said, sympathetically, "Lucas, why don't you drop it? Even if you want to get back at Ethan, there are better ways. Why fixate on that ugly beast? I think Ethan's just messing around with Olivia. Once the novelty wears off, he'll dump her. Who cares whether Ethan is playing or serious? If it's his, I want it all. I want him to know that aside from having a better background than me, he's inferior to me in every other way." So Lucas was the one stirring trouble, and Sophia had become his accomplice. I slipped away from the scene. When it was empty, I turned on my phone and played the home surveillance footage from a while back. Just as I suspected, Margaret really was a habitual thief. A few days ago, when my parents were out, she sneaked into my mother's bedroom and rifled through the vanity for a long time. When she left, Margaret had 2 diamond brooches in her hand. I sent the screenshots from the video to my mom and asked how much the brooches were worth. "They're not that valuable. Maybe a few $10,000, my mom replied. She asked if I wanted to call the police. I told her not to bother for now. A few $10,000 isn't that much. Even if we reported it, Margaret wouldn't get a long sentence. Since I decided to send these 3 to hell, I needed to gather enough evidence to take them down all at once. Although Margaret dared to steal from my house, her nerve wasn't that bold. She only took inconspicuous trinkets. Looks like I had to give her a little help. I called a few friends in the rich second-generation circle and asked several female friends to find a chance to get close to Sophia. Try to pull her into your circle. Let her experience the pleasures of your life. Cultivate her vanity about wanting to be a socialite. Wanting to be a socialite without money? Impossible. But with Sophia's family background, She clearly couldn't afford the lifestyle she wanted. So, she would have to turn to Lucas for money. As expected, before long Sophia's style had changed drastically. Not only did she carry designer bags, Lucas was even wearing a big gold Rolex. Where did their money come from? Of course Lucas gave it. In addition to having those socialites groom Sophia, I had some of my guy friends find a few underground associates to lure Lucas into illegal casinos. That stuff makes money so fast. Fast enough to make people forget how hard earning money can be. To make them feel money is just a number. And once their desires are swollen by money, destruction isn't far off. Ooh, isn't that a gold Rolex? Lucas really is a trust fund kid. That watch must have cost a lot. Sophia, is that a limited Gucci? I only saw one on my classmate's 60-something girlfriend. Didn't expect you to have one too. TSK. You two usually keep a low profile, but when you spend, you leave us in the dust. It's nothing really. We just don't want to be too flashy. Unlike some people who are terrified, everyone won't know they have a rich dad. Donating to the school and making sure everyone knows. Watching them show off everywhere, I just smile without saying a word. Dirty money is not so easy to rake in. I only let the brothers on the streets give him a little taste. When I saw their outfits getting more and more expensive, I knew it was time to close the net. A week later, Sophia and Lucas's outfits had changed. All of them became high-quality knockoffs, and their spending instantly downgraded. Before, they wouldn't even eat in the canteen unless there were 4 dishes and a soup. Now, when I ran into them there, I could see them scooping up the free soup and gulping it down. If someone asked, they'd say, "Our personal trainer has us control our diet. We can't eat too much." But when I walked past with a rich meal, you could clearly see both of them secretly swallowing. I figured if this kept up, Lucas would soon have to ask his mom Margaret for help. Even though they tried hard to hide their embarrassment, some classmates still noticed something was off. "Sophia, why is your bag a different color than before? Did the dye wash out?" Sophia quickly said, "I haven't had it serviced recently. It's just dirty." "Oh, Lucas, why is the cover on your big gold Rolex popped out? Could it be fake?" Lucas hurriedly put the watch away. "I fell while playing basketball. I'll get it fixed later." The two of them were putting on a brave face, which honestly looked ridiculous. But I didn't plan to let them off. Because even though the two of them were always clinging to each other, Olivia still hadn't forgiven me. And recently I heard my father's company ran into some trouble. Many projects that were submitted got blocked during procedures. When we tried to find out why through connections, those acquaintances just told my father it wasn't a big deal. Someone higher up wanted to give him a hard time. I knew this had to be related to Olivia's father. A father will stand up for his daughter when she's wronged. So besides hurrying to cheer Olivia up, I also intended to make up for the humiliation I'd taken through Lucas and Sophia. Another week passed, and finally I heard good news from Sophia's mouth. Lucas was hospitalized, beaten by people who loaned him high-interest money. Sophia told me this to ask me for money. "Help Lucas. If you pay off his debt, those people won't beat him anymore. And I promise I'll accept your pursuit, be your girlfriend." This Sophia really has some fantasies. Of course I wouldn't agree. Not only would I not lend them money, I plan to go to the hospital to see Lucas. Sometimes kicking someone when they're down isn't necessarily derogatory. At the hospital, I found Margaret was there too. Only the two of them were in the ward. "You stupid boy. Have you forgotten how your father died? I told you long ago, gambling is something you mustn't touch. Do you want to end up like your father, forced to jump into the river?" "I was wrong, Mom. I'll change. But no matter what, you have to help me get through this trouble." "Ah, why did I give birth to such an idiot?" "Fine, I'll figure out the money. But you and Sophia can't be like before anymore." "You want to break up with Sophia?" "No, what we have is true love. You're so thick-headed. I told you so many times. I didn't mean for you to break up publicly. I meant for you to date secretly." Ethan is infatuated with Sophia. You should let Sophia be with Ethan openly. In the meantime, get her pregnant as quickly as you can, and then say it's Ethan's child. So then, after the child is born, I'll find a way to kill Ethan's whole family. Won't all the Johnson family's assets become yours? So this vicious idea was Margaret's. I sneered, put away my phone, and left the hospital. When I played the recording of Margaret and Lucas's conversation for my parents, they almost exploded with anger. That Margaret! How could I have been so blind? Father slammed the table in fury. Mother tried to comfort him. It's okay. She wasn't like this before. You can only say, over time people change. What do we do now? Call the police or just fire them outright? I hurriedly said, don't rush. If someone wants our family dead, we don't need to show them mercy. Let them strut around for a while longer. Not long after, a friend called to tell me Lucas had paid off the loan shark debt. And when I checked our home surveillance footage, I discovered Margaret had stolen a jade pendant this time. It was an emperor green jade worth tens of millions of dollars. That amount was enough to keep Margaret rotting in prison for the rest of her life. Having saved the video evidence, I still didn't want to tip them off. I had to keep playing along with Lucas and Sophia. After being discharged, Lucas indeed kept his distance from Sophia. Sophia also began changing her previously cold goddess image in front of classmates. She started pursuing me, and her pursuit was as fierce as mine had been toward her. She even copied me and staged a confession ceremony on campus. People said she had gone from a worshipped goddess to a groveling bitch. Some even came to me for tips, asking how I had made a woman's attitude change so drastically. To others, it was entertainment. To Olivia, it was hurtful. I intended to explain everything to her, but she wouldn't give me the chance. She immediately completed the exchange student paperwork and left the country early. Thinking it over, I really didn't need to keep playing along with the two of them. After much consideration, I decided to give Olivia the cold shoulder. With that decision made, I began dating Sophia. We showed up as a couple all over campus, most often wherever Lucas was. Every time we displayed affection, in front of Lucas and saw him gnash his teeth, but do nothing, I felt pleased. And the day after each time we pushed Lucas to the brink, Sophia always had some mysterious new injuries, scraped knees, bruised arms, a swollen red face. When I feigned concern and asked Sophia what happened, she didn't dare say Lucas hit her out of jealousy. She only brushed it off, saying she'd been clumsy. Maybe she couldn't take the beatings anymore, because 7 days after we announced our relationship, Sophia invited me to a hotel room. When Sophia called to set the date, she told me she was ready to give her untouched body to me. Hearing that, I sneered inwardly. I wondered whether she was blushing as she said it. I arrived on time, bringing 2 bottles of red wine. When I knocked and entered Sophia's room, she intended to go straight to the point. I stopped her. Let's have some red wine to liven things up. Sophia hesitated. Clearly, she was afraid drinking would interfere with the main event. But when I told her that the bottle of red wine cost over $30,000, Sophia's eyes lit up. She stopped refusing and even called the front desk to send up 2 wine glasses. In the end, more than half of those 2 bottles went down Sophia's throat. Before the wine was even finished, her gaze had already started to glaze over. The wine's done. Time to get down to business. I laughed as I threw her onto the bed. Sophia, drunken, rolled on the bed and then looked at me and said, "Come, come." Before she finished speaking, she fell into a deep sleep. Looking at this gift delivered to me, I had absolutely no intention of taking advantage. At that moment, looking at Sophia, I felt that this woman was dirty from head to toe. I stripped her of her clothes, tossed them messily onto the floor, sat nearby for half an hour, and then left the room. After that night, Sophia seemed to have completed a task. After that, she no longer clung to me like she had for a while. Even when I asked her out again, she would find all sorts of excuses to decline. I knew the reason, of course, and I was too lazy to keep up appearances with those 2 people. So I quickly finished the exchange student formalities and went abroad. 3 months after I went abroad, Sophia called me and said she was pregnant. "Dear, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do." Sophia sounded helpless on the phone. I snorted inwardly, then deliberately said, "Get an abortion. I'm not ready to be a father." There was a pause on the other end. Then Sophia said slowly, "How can you be so cold-blooded? This is the fruit of our love. I want to abort it. I want to give birth. Ha, our fruit of love. I'm afraid that fruit carries Lucas's blood. Still, I played along and said, if you want to give birth, fine. My parents are eager to hold a grandchild anyway. Then, hurry back home. Let's register the marriage first. We can't have the child born without legal status, can we? I laughed. I really can't come back right now. Maybe you can wait a bit. The school here is strict. Then, can I come live at your house first? There are no more classes now. If I'm out, I'm afraid something might happen to our child. By now, Sophia was in her senior year internship. Her coursework was basically finished. And a month ago, on my instruction, Lucas had also started an internship in my father's company's management. He had a high starting position and was appointed the chairman's assistant right when he joined. Of course, I wouldn't refuse Sophia's request. After all, I wanted to keep tabs on her and Lucas at all times. So Sophia moved into my family's villa. My parents outwardly doted on this future daughter-in-law. Small gifts kept appearing all the time. But when they call me privately, they complain nonstop. That woman is really terrible. She acts like an empress at home. Except for Margaret, she bossed everyone around. Let her be for a while. By the way, has the company had any trouble recently? Father said problems seem to have decreased a lot recently. That was good news for his company, but for me, it meant trouble. Olivia no longer causing trouble for me meant her feelings for me were slowly fading. Once she let go completely, it would mean our fate was over. No, I absolutely would not allow that to happen. So I booked a plane ticket and flew to the city where Olivia was. Like me, Olivia had also chosen to go abroad. But the country she went to was different from mine. After getting off the plane, I headed straight to Olivia's apartment. I waited at the door for a long time, and finally she showed up. We hadn't seen each other for months, and Olivia looked completely different from how she did back home. To be exact, abroad she had started to dress up. She had always been very pretty, but with a little grooming now, she looked like a fairy. There was also a tall, handsome European man beside her. Seeing that, my heart sank halfway. Olivia had moved on so quickly. Olivia was just as surprised to see me. But she quickly changed her expression and asked coldly, "What are you doing here?" I forced a bitter smile. "I came to explain to you. Is that necessary?" Olivia glanced at the man beside her and sneered. "We're no longer involved. I don't care about your matters anymore. So you don't need to explain anything to me." I kept smiling sadly. Seeing the man beside her starting to ask Olivia about my identity, I could only say, "Even if we broke up, you owe me an explanation, right? Can you give me one chance to speak?" Olivia hesitated for a moment, then finally nodded. "Go ahead. First, listen to this." I played the recording of Lucas and Margaret conspiring against us for Olivia to hear. After it finished, Olivia frowned and asked, "What does this mean? Who are the people in this recording?" I began to explain the relationship between Lucas and his mother and our family, and the role Sophia played in this matter. When I finished telling everything, Olivia's expression was no longer as cold as before. She looked at me, torn. Why didn't you say this earlier?" I smiled bitterly. "I've always wanted to tell you, but you never gave me the chance." Now that the misunderstanding was finally cleared up, I still felt dejected looking at the man beside Olivia. The man asked in halting Chinese, "Olivia, who is he?" Olivia hesitated, then finally smiled. "He's my boyfriend." Her words filled me with instant joy. The man smiled too and extended his hand to me. "Hello. Nice to meet you. You have a very beautiful girlfriend. Let me introduce myself. I'm Olivia's supervisor, Professor Daniel Clark. It seems you two have a lot to talk about, so I won't bother you. Goodbye." "Wait," Olivia called after him, then quickly opened the apartment door. After a while, she came out holding a book. "This is the book you wanted." The man waved the book at me and said with a smile, "I admire your country's culture, so I wanted to learn more about your history through these." "I see." The misunderstanding was resolved. The man left. I looked at Olivia with a silly grin. Perhaps because we were both in a foreign country, we felt a kind of spiritual connection. That night, Olivia and I slept together. When she found out I truly was her first man, all her previous doubts vanished. Holding Olivia, I whispered many sweet things. She also asked how I planned to deal with Lucas and the others. I knew it was time to close the net. 3 months later, my life as an international student came to an end, full of hope waiting for me to come back so we could get our marriage certificate. Sophia instead received the news that I died in a car accident. My parents, who got the same news, seemed to age decades overnight. Yet facing a deeply saddened Sophia, heavily pregnant, my parents still forced down their grief and drew up a will. The will stated, all future inheritance of Johnson Group would go to the child in Sophia's womb. Of course, all of this was fake news I concocted to provoke Lucas and the others into acting. I thought Margaret would, as in the previous life, use slow poison to kill my parents. But I underestimated their patience. The day after my parents announced the will, they struck. The Rolls-Royce my parents often rode in had been tampered with. The car parked in the garage was surrounded by hidden cameras. Lucas cutting the brake line was recorded clearly. My parents called the police. Margaret was arrested too. Margaret was charged with theft. Not to mention the miscellaneous stuff. Just that jade piece worth tens of millions of dollars back then was enough to put her away for life. Besides attempted murder, Lucas was also charged with embezzlement. He'd been committing that since he joined the company as assistant to the chairman. With 2 sentences combined, even if not life, it would be 25 years at least. As for Sophia, she was also taken in for questioning. But when asked whether she had participated in the murder, Sophia denied it vehemently. Lucas was loyal enough to shoulder all the blame himself. Because Sophia was pregnant, the police didn't make things difficult for her. After a simple inquiry, they let her go. However, when Sophia returned to my family villa and saw me standing there in person, a look of panic flashed in her eyes. You're not dead? I smiled and said, are you disappointed? I'm more than happy. How could I be disappointed? Sophia forced a smile. I was worried the child would be born without a father. Now that you're fine, I don't have to worry. I laughed. Whether something happens to me has nothing to do with whether the child has a father. What do you mean? Sophia's smile tightened further. Do I need to spell it out? You think I don't know who the child's real father is? His biological dad is currently in the detention center awaiting trial. Am I right or not? What nonsense are you talking about? You're the real father of this child. He's your seed. He's the heir of your Johnson family. Your parents have already made a will. Sophia became agitated. My parents came out, holding the will Sophia had mentioned. Sorry, as long as we're alive, this will could be changed at any time, they said as they tore the will into pieces. You think I didn't know about your plan with Lucas? I didn't touch you in that hotel at all. You told me the child in your belly was mine? Is that possible? No, the child is yours. The child is yours. Sophia couldn't accept the reality. She suddenly fell to the ground before my parents and frantically grabbed at the torn pieces of the will. She pieced together the torn paper while murmuring, he is the heir of the Johnson family. He's going to inherit all the assets of Johnson Group. You can't go back on your word. You can't lie. Sophia collapsed. I felt no sympathy for her at all. I heard Lucas was in the detention center and emotionally stable, so I found an opportunity to visit him. Lucas looked a little surprised to see me, but he quickly hid that surprise. Aren't you curious why I'm here? I asked. I have decades ahead of me to slowly think about everything. So whatever the question, I won't be curious, he replied. I nodded, emotionally stable. Looks like you've done all the psychological preparation. Lucas stayed silent. Are you so calm because you think your son will one day become the heir of the Johnsons? When he takes over the Johnson Group, you'll probably be out of prison enjoying life, right? Lucas's eyelid twitched. I don't understand what you're talking about. Aren't you at all curious how you and your mother were caught? I asked with a smile, took out my phone, and opened a video file in front of him. It was footage of him and a pregnant Sophia having an affair in my house. Their conversation was recorded too. Lucas, what we're doing, could this cause trouble? What if the baby is gone? Don't worry, I asked the doctor, it won't be a problem. Even if it is gone, when Ethan returns, I'll give him another one. You're so hateful. Looking at Lucas's ashen face, I smiled. Did you really think your plan was foolproof? Do you know why I delayed returning home to register with Sophia? Because from the start, I knew that child wasn't mine. So stop dreaming. From beginning to end, you were the ones being played by me. When I left the detention center, Lucas was already limp and couldn't walk. Half a month later, news came that Lucas had committed suicide in prison. I knew why he did it. Seeing no chance of turning things around, he couldn't bear wasting 25 years in prison. Margaret followed her son's path not long after hearing about his suicide. A year later, Olivia, 6 months pregnant, and I attended the opening ceremony of a new hotel by Johnson Group. During the ribbon cutting, a woman holding a child caught our attention. Isn't that Sophia? How did she end up like that? Olivia asked in surprise. Sophia was in the crowd, hair a mess, looking like a scavenger. Holding a child, she searched at people's feet for the wedding candies we had just tossed. Every time she found a piece, she hurriedly unwrapped it and stuffed the candy into her mouth. The child beside her cried loudly several times after not getting any. So Sophia ripped open her blouse and breastfed publicly. Crazy, I said coldly. Olivia hesitated. Should we help her? After all, she was someone you paid attention to once. Don't say that. I quickly cut her off. Compared to you, she's at best a mosquito bite on the wall. Come on, it's windy outside. Let's go in. Carrying Olivia into the hotel, I gave the security a few more orders. Before long, Sophia and her child outside were driven away. Don't blame me for being cold-hearted. As the saying goes, let go of the savior complex and respect other people's fate. Reborn, I had long since fully understood this truth. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. "Oh my God, it really is you, Mary." Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. "Frank, it's been a long time." She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, "Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew." A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. "Aren't you allergic to mangoes?" I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, "Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing." I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. "When did you start smoking?" I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor." I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. "Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level." Frank's eyes widened. "You mean, she's not Mary?" "I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up." 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. "Mary is an only child. We all know that." I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. "George, Mary is going to have a baby," my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that?" I managed to ask. "Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. "It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life." My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. "Mary, could you come here for a moment?" I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. "Did you forget about this?" I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. "George, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain that you're not Mary at all." Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. "What's going on with you two?" "Mom, take a look at this." I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. "What's going on? Mary, you can't have children." "Of course she can," I sneered, "because she's not Mary at all." My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I can explain." She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. "That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly." My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. "George, you're being too paranoid." My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster. Hard to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. It's beautiful, thank you. She smiled as she prepared to put it on. Wait, I stopped her. Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back? She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked, feigning ignorance. No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved. She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace. I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, after all, this is your final design. Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light. On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it. Mary immediately chimed in. Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future. I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting. Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle Eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to Eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was sent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the three of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, See, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about. Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow, so this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was, I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. "Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project," a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. "Mary, the exhibition was a great success today," I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. "Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted." Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. "Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me." A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, "I've been thinking about something." "What is it?" "If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met." Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. "Perhaps that's the irony of fate," I said softly. "Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings." When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. "Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path." "Luna," I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, "Her skills have improved a lot. She truly has talent." "Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars," I sighed. "Everyone deserves a second chance." That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. "You mean?" "A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration," she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. "Love." I finished her sentence. "No matter what form it takes." Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. "We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration." "Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project." "We have time," she smiled, holding my hand. "We have so much time." In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines two embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the eternal ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.